Hello everyone. Happy Tuesday. Well, whew. Had a little bit of technical difficulty. I got a text at the last minute and then my Facebook would not let me go into landscape mode. Whew. But I got that figured out. So hopefully we are ready to party. All right, let's get this up and see if we've got anyone on. Hello, Tracy. Thank you for waiting for me. Thanks for hanging out. That was a little bit crazy. Anyway, glad that you're here. Tonight, we're going to be using Yeti to Party. And this is part of the Perfect Partners promotion that is running the 1st through the 30th of September. Only while supplies last. Stampin' Up! Has added some dies to existing stamp sets that are in both the annual and the mini catalog. These are those stamp sets. You've got the Birthday Piggy bundle we did last week. Trimming the Tree bundle. So if you already have the stamp sets, you can purchase the dies, and if you haven't, you can purchase them together in a bundle and save 10%. So we've got the Yeti to Party with the Yeti dies, Waterfall Canyon with the waterfall dies, Fresh Cut Stems dies with the Fresh Cut Flowers stamp set, and then the Apple Harvest stamp set with the Apple Blossoms dies, which we used 2 weeks ago. So if you need any inspiration, you can go back and see those. Hello, Laura. Congrats on Daniela's volleyball team's wins. Oh my gosh. I just, technical issues. I think I hit the orientation lock and it was stuck in portrait mode and it would not allow me to go landscape. So I had to get that all figured out. I don't know what happened. Anyway, let's go ahead. This is what we're using tonight. Let's see. I just told you about the Perfect Promotions bundles. Now remember that those Perfect promotions are only for the month of September and only while supplies last. So once the dies are gone, the bundles and the dies are gone. They won't be having them back. All right, anything else I need to tell you? Tomorrow, Stampin' Up! Is releasing a new kit for the kit collection, and you will find that located on the Stampin' Up! Website, or you can go to teresaharper.stampinup.net and look in the kits collections, and you will find that tomorrow. And remember that anything in the kits collection is while supplies last as well. Let's see. World Card Making Day is on October 1st, and there was a new stamp and excuse me, die collection that was released for that. Let me see if I can. I showed you guys the flyer last week. I'm not sure where my flyer is right now, so be sure to go and check that out. I believe the stamp set is called Warm Welcome. So if you just look for that, you'll find it. And I think that's everything I need to tell you. Let's go ahead and get started. Well, let me show you those dies. So the Yeti dies have 18 dies in them. We'll be using quite a few of these tonight. And then, so the dies cut out all of the images. And this little die that looks a little funky, this just cuts the top of the Yeti's arm so that you can stick things in there so that it can look like he's holding things. Okay, and I'll show you how that works tonight because we're going to be doing that. And let's get started. We're going to start with a birthday card. And in addition to the Yeti stamp set, we will be using Wildlife Wonder, and we're just using that for this shadow stamp right here. You'll find that in the annual catalog. We're using Whimsical Woodland 3D embossing folder. And then I've used the scallop contour dies, and I've cut 2 pieces of basic white with this particular die, one for the inside and one for the outside. So you'll find these scallop contour dies in the annual catalog back in the die section. All right. We'll also be using the In Color Opal Rounds from 2021-23. We just need one of those, but we'll be using that. And then we need our Polished Pink and Memento Tuxedo Black. So let's do our stamping first so that has a chance to dry. And we've got quite a bit of that to do. So let's go ahead and ink up our Yeti. These are the pieces that you're going to need. So you'll need a Yeti. I'm not sure if I moved that or not. Let me see. My screen is locked, of course. I don't know why it does that. All right, there we go. Now we're going to use the large mountain. And we need 2 of those. And then we've got a small mountain. And we need 2 large presents. And a small present. And we need an ice cream cone. And then we need the tree. And we are not using this as a tree. Okay. So those are all of our stamps. Let's go ahead and get those out of the way so I don't get ink where I don't want it. The other thing that we need to stamp is the Get Yeti to Party. Let's get rid of that, but we're going to stamp that. Now, I just stamped on thick basic white, so this time I'm going to grab thin, the regular basic white, and I am only going to ink the Get Yeti to Party. There's enough room between these sentiments, excuse me, that you can, if you're very careful, ink without masking. But if you think that's going to be a problem for you, then by all means go ahead and mask. Okay, so we've got the Get Yeti to Party. And we can set that aside. All right, let's go ahead and let that dry a little bit more. So I want to show you how I colored my Yeti. All right, and then we're going to pull out the Whimsical Woodland 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to bring in my card base, which is Polished Pink, 5.5 by 8.5, and I've scored that in half at 4 1/4. And I want these to go in portrait mode. So I'm going to put this, let me put some lights on. That might help. All right, I'm going to put this into my folder to the edge of my design, but only up to my score line. So hopefully you can see that. So here's my score line. And then I'm going to close my folder. I'm going to hold that tight. I'm going to turn it in this direction because I want my binding to go into my machine first. All right, so you need to do this at your own risk. Well, actually, I'm doing it the right way, so never mind. It doesn't matter. So we're going to bring in the large Stampin' and Cut machine. I need plate 1 and plate 4, so I'm going to put in plate 1. Then I'm going to very carefully put in my embossing folder. I'm holding on to that so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to put plate number 4 on top. I'm going to roll that in. And I did it upside down. Darn it. Oops. Don't do what I did. I didn't pay attention to that. Let me grab another piece of polished pink. Oh my goodness. And of course I don't have another card base already cut and ready to go. So let me do that quickly. I don't know what I was doing. All right, so I'm cutting and now I'm scoring. All right. This is why I said you have to be careful. How did I do this now? Now I gotta think about it. So I made this work. But how did I do it? Oh, wait a minute. Back it up again. Okay. I didn't get that in there quite right. But we're not actually using the embossed side. Oops. Sorry. Forgot. So we're going to put this in. I'm going to make sure I get that all the way in this time. I don't know what I did last time. I'm going to put this in. We're not actually using, because you can't make this work unless you use the debossed side. So we're using the debossed side. So we're going to put that in. Roll that through the machine correctly. Maybe I didn't have that all the way in the machine, and that was my problem. It didn't get it all the way. Okay, we'll get this right. Okay. It's been a rough day, you guys. Fun day, but a rough day. Lots going on. Okay, so there we are. Now, we don't want to use this way. So we're going to go ahead and fold this just like we would, but rather than have the, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and score this again, just so it'll score a little better. And I'm going to reinforce that score line. So that will just fold right over. Then we'll fold this down. That's what happens when you make a card a couple of days in advance. You forget what you're doing. Okay, there we go. So now I don't know if you can tell, but in this one, the trees are indented in. And if you flip it this way, this is the actual way where you normally would use it. But this way will make it a little bit flatter for our design. So it works out quite nicely. So we've got that. And then we're going to take our piece of basic white that we've cut with our scallop contour. And we're going to ink up our ground from our Wildlife Wonder Stamp set. We're going to ink that up in Sahara Sand. And then I'm going to stamp it off because I don't want that dark. So I'm going to scrap it on a piece of, or stamp it on a piece of scrap paper. And right at the very bottom down here by the stitching, I'm going to give that a press. Okay. Now that would have been quite a bit darker had I used the first generation stamping. All right. So there we have that. Now we are ready to start our coloring. Okay, so I did my, and I'm going to show you how to do this once, and then my next project I've already got it colored. Okay, so we're going to color his little Yeti horns here in soft suede, light soft suede. And then I'm going to take the SU 1000, which is part of the Light Natural Tones collection. And I'm going to dab that on his tongue, put a little bit of color on his cheek there. And then we're going to get the light crumb cake and color lifter. And with small circular motions here. And I'm making just small ones, and I'm leaving some white spaces. And I'm doing that on purpose. I want some open circles. I saw somebody color this way, and I loved how this little Yeti looked like he was all fuzzy. So we're just going to color this. Leaving some open spaces. And I found that if you go across his body rather than down, it looks better. So I'm going to go across and then back across and across again. And you can see how I'm leaving some white. Okay. Then I'm going to go back with my color lifter. I'm going to use that to lighten up his cheeks a bit. And then I'm going to go back, and in the same way that I just did the crumb cake, I'm going to use my color lifter. Small open circles. And it may not look like anything to you at the moment, but when I'm done, I'll hold this up and I'll show you what we get. And it makes our little Yeti look a little bit like he's got fuzzy fur. Rather than just a solid brown coat. Okay, and it really goes rather quickly, as you can tell. Okay, so let's see now if you can see that. Maybe got it too close. Come down a bit. Okay, there. Well, I don't think I'm helping you here. Let's see, right there maybe. Okay, hope you can tell that. All right, then I took for my ice cream, I'm using light pale papaya, and I'm just going to color that in with the light. Then I'm going to go back with the dark, and where these little indents are, I'm just going to bring that in a little bit. So looks like there's a little definition, and I'll go back and blend that just a little bit to color our ice cream cone with a little light soft suede. All right. Then to color my little mountains here, I got my light. I have the light and dark pool party. So I'm going to start with the dark pool party. And I'm going to color in right up here along the snow cap and right along the edge here. I'm going to go down a little bit below the stamp line. Then I'm going to go back with the light, and I'm going to color up into that same area that I just colored with the dark. And then I'm going to finish this off. Color this all in, blend that dark. And again, I'm going back and forth across. Now blend, 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 and blend. Okay, and I'm going to do that with all three of those mountains. For my tree here, I'm taking the dark polished pink and the dark pale papaya, and I'm going to color the bottom, the middle, and the top in polished pink. And then I'm going to color the other two with the pale papaya. Okay. And then for my gifts, I'm going to use the dark polished pink here, here, a little bit of shadow. I'm going to go back with my light, and I'm going to incorporate right over the top of that dark. Okay. And then I'm going to add a light pale papaya bow. Okay. Then I need a balmy blue gift, and I'm going to I'm going to do this the same way again. The dark, then the light, blend that in. Okay. And this time I'm going to use a pool party bow here. You can use whatever colors you like. And then I'm going to go back with for the smaller package, I'm going to use the dark and light Calypso Coral. And again, I'm going to color those the same way. Excuse me. My throat gets dry and it causes a cough. Okay. Look at that. And then I'm going to go back with the dark pale papaya this time. And I'm just going to put that in. Okay. Now you could change your bows up however. All right. So now I've already cut all of these out. That'll save us some time. There's dies for all of this though. I will show you that. So you've got Yeti, and we've got the ice cream and the tree, and then we've got large and small mountains, and then we've got small and large gifts. Okay, so you would put all those on and run that through your die cut machine. Let's put these back so we don't lose them. Okay. And when you get that done, you will have all of your pieces. Okay, so we've got all of those ready to go. Except we need to cut in our Yeti. Okay, so we're going to take that Yeti, and with our little Yeti, you're going to lay this on, you're going to cut this Yeti out, and then you're going to take the arm and lay it right here and run that back through your die cut machine. Okay? And then what it's going to do is give you a little slit so that you can slip a package right in his hand like so. Okay, so he can carry it like that. But I took this just a little step further and pulled out my paper snips because I wanted this to really look like he was holding it. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm just going to go around his fingers like this with my snips. And the paper's going to fight you a little bit. Okay. And then I took on here and just going to cut up to that fingertip and come back in here like this to take that piece out. Okay. And then I'll give that just a little snip there. Okay, so now I've got his hand completely free. All right, so now you know how that one die works. We've got that. We have one more thing to show you for this before we can start putting this together. Okay. So we're going to take our little mountain here, and at the top I'm going to pull out my Snowfall Accents puff paint. This is in the mini catalog. I think in the gnome suite. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to give that a good shake. And then I'm going to very carefully, this is very, very runny, so you want to very, very carefully squeeze just a little bit on and then direct it with your nozzle. Don't keep squeezing because it'll just come out and you don't want a big pile. Okay. So I don't know if you can tell that or not, but let's get this up here. And you can see that there's just a little pile of liquid there. So we're going to take the heat tool. I'm going to warm it up on the high setting for a minute. Hang on. I'm going to grab a hold of this with my tweezers from my Embossing Dishes Essentials Kit, which is also in the new mini. And then I'm going to take and heat this up with my heat tool. And I don't want this to puff super bad or super a lot, so I'm going to just get it till it's not glossy, because I don't want a bunch of puff. I just want it to look like a little bit of snow. And I'm going to let that sit for just a second, cool off a bit, and finish drying that off. Okay. So I don't know if you can tell now, but I've got just a little bit of puff on there. Looks like it's a little bit of a snow-capped top. And you're going to do that to all three of your little mountains. The key is not to get it too hot all at once so that it puffs just a little bit, just to look like snow-capped mountains. Okay, so now we're going to bring in all of our pieces that we've got here. And with the tree, you'll see that it has the, oh my goodness, I can't think of the tree stump right here. And what I did with it is I cut that off because this tree is now going to be my party hat. Okay, so we are ready to start putting our card together now. We've got all of our pieces. We're going to take the Get Yeti to Party. I'm going to cut this, and I hand cut this. Okay, so you're going to take this and go like this. And sometimes it helps if you draw around it. I'm pretty good at freehanding what I want, so I don't draw it with a pencil. But if you have a hard time with the freehand, draw around it with a pencil and then cut. And this goes pretty quick. You're just moving your paper and your scissors back and forth, putting in those bumps and ridges. Doesn't take but a minute. And now we have our sentiment ready to go. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go ahead and start assembling. So we're going to put this on our card first. And I'm going to use the liquid glue because I have an embossed surface. I'm going to put this right in the center of my card, like this. Try to get that straight and centered as best I can. I'm going to give that a good press there in the center. And then I'm going to set my Yeti here. And I want to start putting his presents in his hand. I want that all ready to go. So I'm going to start with my little present. And I'm going to tuck that up here. I don't want to cover his mouth. So I'm just going to put this in here. Like so. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to take just a little bit of liquid glue. Oh, shoot. And I don't want to put it at the bottom. I actually want my liquid glue at the top of my gift, so I don't glue my arm closed. All right, so we're going to put that in there. Give that a press in here, about like so. Okay, and I'm going to take my blue gift, and I'm going to tilt that a little bit, and again, I'm going to glue near the top. And I'm going to put that in there like that. And then I'm going to take my polished pink. And this one is going to go right down here, like so. This one I can glue right in the middle of that. Man, I'm having the dropsies with this. And we'll just put this in here like this. Give it a little lean like it's fallen over. And we've got our presents. Okay. So now we're going to put a little, we're going to wait on this. His little ice cream cone is going to go in his hand here. So it looks like he's holding it. But we're going to wait until we get that on the card. Okay. Before we put that on. Let's go ahead and add his little hat. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of glue at the bottom here. And I'm going to stick the hat right there. And I shouldn't be gluing on my card base there. Okay, so now we've got our little Yeti with all of his presents. Let me see if I can tilt this one. I got this one a little high for his mouth. And it's liquid glue, so I'm still able to move it a little bit. It hasn't set up. I'm going to press that one down just a little bit more. There we go. Excuse me. Okay. So let's go ahead, now that we've got that all set and we know what that's going to be. We're going to put our little Yeti right down here in the corner. And then we're going to arrange our mountains in the background. So we're going to put this little one in the center. And then we're going to put this larger one over here. Oh, I gotta pull my Yeti up a little bit so he's standing on his shadow. And we'll put this one here. And we'll tuck this one so you can't see the bottom of it. And then we're going to stick this one over here like so. Okay. And I'm trying to get all of my little mountains at different angles or at different levels. So we're going to start by putting down our smaller one, and I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue. And let's put this one in here. And then we're going to, I'm leaving the tops unglued, and I'm doing that on purpose so that I have some dimension. It just adds a little bit of interest if you don't glue them totally flat. So we're going to do our third one here. And I'm going to put that one down here just a little bit so that all of them are at different levels. Okay, so far so good. Do that. I want to pull this one up a little higher. Maybe here. Okay, there we go. I like how that looks. All right. Then we're going to add our Yeti with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're going to use both mini and regular. Excuse me. So we're going to put one on his head, one on his hand. I'm going to put one here to support those presents. And then we'll put one down here and one more here. And then I want a mini to put up here on the hat. And I'm actually going to put that right there so that it puts the hat and the Yeti's head together. Gives it a little added insurance for staying together. And then we're going to pull off all these backings. And we're going to line our Yeti up where we want him, making sure that he's still standing on the ground there. And move that so it's like that. So his hat is kind of sticking between those mountains. I'm going to put a little mini glue dot on the ice cream cone. And then I'm going to stick this in here so it sort of looks like he's holding on to that ice cream cone. Okay. And finally, we have our sentiment, Get Yeti to Party, and we're going to put that in. I might have got my Yeti too far over. Nope, I'm good. Barely, but I'm good. Okay, so we'll get some small minis for that because the regulars are too big. And 2 should do that. So we're going to add this to our card right here. Let's go up just a tad. Come on. I'm going to come up a little bit farther right there. Not quite so far at his foot. Okay, and finally, we're going to add a 2021-23 in color opal round, and I'm going to take the small polished pink and I'm going to stick that right at the tip of the hat. Okay, so there is the outside of our card. All right. Let me get all of these blends out of the way. Now for the inside of our card, I took another one of those scalloped circles or scalloped rectangles the same size, and I stamped an ice cream cone, and at the bottom of that Get Yeti to Party, it says it's your birthday, and so I just inked that up the same way I did the Get Yeti, with just the pushing it on the ink pad. You could mask that off if you're not confident. I didn't have any issues. And then I put a couple of presents at the bottom, and we're just going to add that to the inside of our card. Hello, Lynette. And then we have our card, and to finish it off, I stamped the heart and another ice cream cone, and then for the back I embossed that tree setting on the envelope flap so that we would have a coordinating envelope to go with our card, because you know I always say no naked envelopes. All right, so that's our first project. Okay, that took a while. Sorry guys, because our next project is really involved. Oops. Okay, so moving on. Our next project uses the Merriest Moments hybrid dies and embossing folders, and this comes in a set. You cannot purchase the embossing folder and the dies separately. You have to purchase them together. These are in the mini catalog. We're using a heart from the Give It a Whirl dies. We're using this one. Okay. And for this one, we're starting with I've got quite a bit to show you with the embossing machine here. We've got a thick basic wide cardstock layer, or cardstock base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. We've got a quarter sheet of soft suede. From a quarter sheet of Night of Navy, I've already cut this die from the Merriest Moments die set. That's this one. Okay, like this. That's what that one cuts out. All right, so I've already done that. I had to save us a little bit of time. But let's get this. We're going to start by embossing again our front of our card base. Now, this is a little tricky because I want to get the card base, but I don't want to get too much more. So I'm going to set this in at the edge, but I don't want to get a bunch of embossing over on the back. Okay, and I need to make sure that I've got this leaf and this leaf all on the card. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here very carefully, making sure I don't go over, but I get what I need, and I need to straighten it up. Once I've got it, I'm going to grab it and hold it. Okay, now this is the one where you're going to go at your own risk, because we're going to take this with base 1, and I'm going to put this in sideways, and you want to make sure that you don't rake the edge of your embossing folder against the side of your machine. because if you do hit the side of the machine, you can crack the folder. Okay, so we're going to put this in very carefully. Line that up. Put our number 4 plate on top. I'm trying to make sure I hold on to that so it doesn't move. Making sure I'm not touching the side of my machine. And then I'm going to run that through. Okay. And now I've got the front of my folder embossed. Okay, so you can see that. All right. Now, next I'm going to take off plate number 4. Well, you know what? While I've got plate number 4, let me go ahead and do this. So, I'm going to take the blue Night of Navy here. I'm going to stick this in my embossing folder. Let me turn this so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to lay this down against the part that says Stampin' Up here. I'm going to open this up. See how I've got the Stampin' Up label there? I'm going to lay this down, line it up, close my folder, put this in my machine, making sure that doesn't move, and then I'm going to run that through the die cutting machine. Okay. And now I've got this beautifully embossed piece. You can't see very well, I think, with the light. Okay, so we've got that. Now we've got one more piece to put this all together. And this time, I'm going to take this large open die cut. Again, I'm going to take my embossing folder, same side with the embossing or the Stampin' Up label backwards there. This is the outside with the label, inside with the label. I'm going to take my die cutting side up, and I'm going to place this into the cutting groove. Okay, it'll fit in there and it'll sit. Then I'm going to take that piece of soft suede. What did I do with it a second ago, you guys? Uh-oh. I don't know where I set it down at. Oh, man. Okay, well, I'm not seeing it. I'm not going to keep you waiting. Let me find another piece of soft suede because I don't know where I put it. All right. Hopefully this one's wide enough. You have to have it a good 5.5 inches. You've got to have a quarter sheet or it won't work properly. Okay, so let's try this and see what happens. I had that one cut just perfect. If you're just a little bit shy on the 5.5, it does not work properly. Okay, so let's see what we've got. So I have no idea where that piece went, and this one is not going to work. Oh my goodness. Okay. Apparently that piece of cardstock is a little short. Sometimes the cardstocks aren't cut right at 8.5 or right at 11. Okay, so I'm going to go over that 5.5 by just a hair. Just to make sure I'm good. Please tell me I didn't just cut that at 4. I didn't. I'm still having an issue with that. Okay, so then you've got to line this up so that you don't have a cutting line or a cutting line. Got to get that all right in there. Why am I struggling? I do not know. I did not struggle like this. This one's right. This will work. This one will be perfect. Okay. You have to cut it just a tiny bit bigger. Make sure you get that all lined up. It barely fits. And I mean barely, barely. So you're actually probably better off to go 5 and 3 or 5 and 5/8. That's what I'm trying to say. Go 1/8 of an inch bigger. And then hopefully, see, now you can see that I almost did not get that. See how tiny that is on the cut there? And at the bottom, I missed just a teeny tiny bit, but it'll work. Okay. Cardstock needs to all be even. Okay, so that's all of that. Let's get rid of this. Whew. That was a little frustrating for a second. Okay, so now we've got these pieces. And let's go ahead and start the assembly. So we've got our card base. Now I would caution you, what did I do with my thing? To go back on your card base once you do this, because you'll see that you have your score line, and then you'll have a little line from the embossing folder. So put this card base back in your machine and rescore it, so you have a nice solid score line and your card doesn't choose to fold where you don't want it to fold. Okay, so we'll do that and hold that. And now we've got our card base. Okay. Then we're going to add this piece right over the top of the embossed piece here. And I'm going to do that with some liquid glue. I'm going to put the majority of my glue in the middle, put a little bit on these outside edges. Again, I don't want it to be fully glued down for some dimension. And then I'm just going to slide that right into place on that card base. I'm going to hold that for just a second. And then to this, I've taken a piece of the storybook gnome paper, and I've cut a piece of the mountain scene. And this is cut kind of at an odd. You want to cut it at 2 and almost 3/16. You want to actually go halfway between the 1/8 and the 3/16. If you don't want to be picky, just go 3/16 or 2 1/8. And then this one will be just halfway between 2 7/8 and the 15/16 mark. Or you can just go 2 7/8 if you're not picky. I wanted mine to fit pretty much exact, so that was the measurement that I figured out to make it work. And you'll see when I put this in here, it just fits inside that rectangle. And it's just about a perfect fit. Okay, so we've got that. Next, we're gonna put our Yeti together. Now I've stamped a Yeti When you stamp your Yeti for this one, you want to start out with a piece that is 2.5 inches by 3 inches. So I just want to show you how that works. So I'm going to grab my scrap paper, get my Yeti. This piece is 2.5 by 3 inches. I'm going to take my Yeti and I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to look at my Yeti arm over here on the top. I'm going to get my horns up there. I'm going to make sure my Yeti arm fits. And then I'm going to stamp that down. Okay. And then I'm going to color him and I'm going to cut him out. And by doing it this way, I'll have a perfect edge for my Yeti. And this Yeti then will fit in. Excuse me, let me get a drink real quick. Then my Yeti will fit right in my square, right in the corner here, just like that. Okay, so I don't like the way this looks here. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off, just like so. I'm going to take that piece off. All right, now, out of the Subtles 6 by 6 paper stack, I've cut the scarf from the Yeti dies, and I'm going to add this to my Yeti. Oh, I didn't cut this, darn it. Okay, hang on, you guys. I forgot to cut it. I've got to cut my little arm. So I'm going to grab my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. I thought I had this Yeti ready to go. I'm going to grab this. And I'm going to grab that little hand die here. I'm going to put that in there. And of course the tape I had right here is now gone. Oh my. I'm a hot mess tonight. And I had, here, I knew I had some Post-it tape I set right here just in case I needed it. Okay, so we're going to put this on. Line that up. Just like that. Piece of Post-it tape. And run that through. And cut that. All right. Everything else is done. All right. So let's get our scissors, close out my ink pad before I have a disaster. And again, I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to go around that, moving my paper, not my scissors. And then I'm going to go in, cut that, and snip that off. And then pull that piece out, which apparently I didn't get it cut exactly like I wanted it. There we go. It's being stubborn. There it goes. Okay. So I've got that. Let's go ahead and put our Yeti's muffler on here. We're just going to put glue just around the neck part. And I'm going to set this down. I'm going to lift his arm up just a titch. Put his little scarf on like so. I've already colored and die cut a Poppy Parade cup. The mug is from the Yeti dies, and I've done that in light and dark Poppy Parade, and then I used a little bit of soft suede there in the coffee or the cocoa part. That's what I call it. Cocoa, it's my cocoa. I'm going to trim off the white from the handle here because I want this to look like it's part of the Yeti. And then I'm just going to put this in his hand right here, and I'm going to hook the one thumb or the one finger over the edge of that, and I'm going to glue this on. A little bit of liquid glue so I can slide that into place. And put that on and put it like that so it looks like he's really holding that cup. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can turn this over and get our Stampin' Dimensionals again. And support that hand. Put one here, here, and then on each leg. Take those off. And then we're very carefully going to add our Yeti to this piece. Well, actually, before I do that, nope, I won't. Nope, I'm good. I'm going to put this on first. Okay, so we're going to liquid glue this. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here and there on these. I don't want it entirely glued down. Just want a few pieces. That will keep the rest of it for dimension. Then I'm going to line this up with its pieces and lay that down. Okay, so we've got that. And then we're going to put our little Yeti on here, lining up the bottom and the corner here, this feet, so it all fits just so in that corner and on the bottom. Okay, now we've got that. And then we need, from the Give It a Whirl dies, we're going to cut ourselves. We're going to stamp, first of all, we're going to stamp our sentiment, Winter Wishes, in Poppy Parade. Okay. Just like that. Then we're going to take the Give It a Whirl dies, and with this die we're going to very carefully put that on there. It will just fit, and when we run that through our die cut machine we'll have this. And I gave this a little bit of dimension by running it in the embossing folder, and you can actually do this at the same time you emboss the blue piece. Just set this down in here, and when you run it through, then it will emboss some little snowflakes on your sentiment piece. We're going to take this, and we're not going to glue this little edge here. We're going to glue 2/3 of our heart on the left side of the heart, and we're going to put this Winter Wishes right up here. Okay. And then to finish this card off, I did pull those out, didn't I? Yep. We're going to use the 2022-2024 in color deco dots. And I've taken the dark Poppy Parade Stampin' Blend. And I've colored 1 large and 4 small with my blend. And I'm going to take 3 small colored in dots. And I'm going to put those up here on these spots that look like they should have berries. Okay, and then down here I'm going to take 1 large and then I'm just going to put 1 small. All right, so there is the front of this card, and you could use this card for a winter birthday or anything. It's not necessarily Christmas, just looks wintry. And then for the inside of this, I'm going to take a piece of 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. I'm going to take a piece of that same designer series paper, and what did I do with my mat? There it is. Oh, and there's that soft suede piece I couldn't find earlier. Now I found it. Okay, so we're going to start at this edge right here, and this is bigger than I need, so I'm going to just put this at the bottom like so. I'm leaving my sentiment blank because I don't know what my winter wishes are going to be at this moment. And it could be maybe a December or January birthday. Or it could just be winter wishes thank you card I could use. So I'm just going to take this, add it to the inside of my card. And then this card is finished. Now, do you necessarily have to put an extra white piece in there? No, you could totally leave that out and just put it across the bottom there. But as you guys know, I like to add that even when it's white. So I've got that, and then I took from the Yeti stamp some snowflakes, and I put them, mounted both of these snowflakes on the same block. Stamped them in, this is Night of Navy stamped off, Pool Party Full Strength, and we've got that then for our envelope. Okay, so I did do 2 more cards. We're not going to actually make them. I'm just going to show them to you for a little added inspiration in case you're on the fence about this set. So we've got that. And then I did a Christmas card using that same Merriest Moments bundle and turned that into a Christmas card just with a few changes there. Changed the colors here and changed up the designer series paper. This is from Painted Christmas. This is from the Regals 6x6 pack. And I put the mug out here and gave him a tree as well. So we've got that one. And then I went a step further and I thought, well, I should do a fall card. So we've got those. And then for my fall card, I brought in the Hello Harvest stamp set. The Playful Piggy dies. That's where that wagon comes from. And then I used the baby white technique for the leaves here. So my little Yeti has Autumn Wishes, and the Autumn Wishes sentiment is from Fond of Autumn. So that's just to show you that you can change things up a little bit. So there are the cards we made tonight. I hope that gives you some ideas of what you can do with this bundle. And remember that Perfect Partners promotion is only good for the month of September and only while supplies last. Okay, I don't think I can get them all in here for you. Very good. Let's try. All right. Well, I hope you're inspired by those, and I hope you'll give those a try. Thank you for joining me. As a reminder, I will not be live next Tuesday. I'm moving to Wednesdays at 7 p.m. because ballet, excuse me, ballet and tap start next week. So Wednesday night's my only free night. All right. Let me see if I can. Tracy, why are you confused? Such a cute car. You guys, thank you. My things were not scrolling. Can you tell me why you're confused? Maybe I can answer that for you. I'm sorry I didn't catch that comment. All right. Okay, I'll wait for just a minute to see if Tracy answers. And if not, we'll say goodnight. And I'll see you again next Wednesday. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Oh, thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up. I love that. Jennifer, I'm going to assume that you shared again, so thank you for that, because you always do. All right. All right, everybody, I don't see any more questions or anything, so I'm going to sign off. You all have a good evening. See you Wednesday night at 7 next week. Good night, everybody. Thank you.